What's up, guys? So we want to know how a GTX 460 performs in 2019. Well, first off, the GTX 460 is part of the Fermi architecture, now dating back almost 10 years. It fortunately still has DirectX 11 support and Gb DDR3 Ram, 1 GB to be exact. My specific version of the card requires two 6-pin power connectors, and for a power supply you'll need a 450 watt power supply minimum. I also overclocked the GTX 460 from 700 MHz to 773 MHz, and the memory clocked from 1800 MHz to just under 2000 MHz. If I go any higher, everything still runs stable, but after a while the V-core locks to 400 MHz and stays stuck there until restarting the PC. Okay, so let's just test some games over the last 5 years and see what it can and can't do. Let's start off with Grand Theft Auto 5, the 2015 PC launch. I set the game at 900p as it was the native resolution of the testing monitor. The settings are as follow. At stock it averages around 34 FPS, with 1% lows at 24 and 0.1% lows at 16. When overclocked you can clearly see improvements across the board, with the 1% lows jumping up 8 frames per second, which lessens any stat you might have experienced before. Next up is For Honor. This game you will see performance vary depending on which map and game mode you choose. I chose a sunny daytime map on training at 900p. The settings are as follow. At stock, the GTX 460 averaged 52, with 1% lows of 46 and 0.1% lows of 44. Indeed, this game is very much playable. You might get away with increasing the resolution and lowering all settings to the lowest possible for 50 to 60 frames per second average. When overclocked, the average increased from 52 to 56, a 4 FPS increase, with 1% lows at 48 and 0.1% lows at 45. This is not the best gains, but it's still welcome. Next up is a very lightweight title, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Now if you want to play some cel-shaded fighting games from Bandai, you'll be glad to hear this card can definitely be a good performer in this area, as well in any other lightweight esports titles. Here's the settings for Xenoverse 2. The GTX 460 manages an impressive 90 FPS average with 1% lows of 70 and 0.1% lows of 38. When overclocked, the average is up to 100 FPS with 1% lows at 79 and 0.1% lows at 17. You might want to leave the overclock for this game, as some slight stutters occur when overclocked, especially if you can look at the 0.1% lows. Now for the next title. I was really blown away. I didn't expect much, but whoa did it blow my mind. Control, yes, a 2019 launch, can run on the GTX 460. Though I think Control performs this well because it needed to perform well with all the RTX cards to begin with. For all the ray tracing stuff that's added, so on. Enough said about that. Here's the settings. The GTX 460 averaged 30 FPS on stock with 1% lows of 16 and 0.1% lows of 14. Overclocking didn't help at all as this card was severely constrained with VRAM. The overclock resulted with an average of 31 with 1% lows of 14 and 0.1% lows of 3. You really shouldn't expect much of this game, as you'll get occasional frame drops here and there, but you'll definitely hit the magic of 30 FPS mark. As for Just Cause 4, there's no way of playing it. Though the game launched, there were severe graphical glitches and bugs. I suppose it's because of the drop for driver support from NVIDIA a few years back. This could also be said for Assassin's Creed Oddesy, as it didn't have any problems graphically, but it couldn't pass 25 frames per second with a 30% resolution scale at the resolution of 800 by 600. and it absolutely looked horrible, so not recommended. As for Need for Speed Payback and Sekiro, it played both at above 30 FPS average, but you'll still get the occasional frame drops, as with Control. Now, should you buy this card in 2019 with a big old question mark? Well, no. Probably you're better off with an NVIDIA AMD card with the latest driver support. Though if you can get this card for under $5, that would be a great buy if you play esports titles or games like the Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 or maybe some Naruto game. So yeah, that's it. The GTX 460. Very old card, not recommended anymore. If you liked this video, please drop a like, a comment or subscribe. If not, how on earth did you watch till this point? Oh well.